With the creation of modern social media, we have this new and never before reach, right? Where we can reach people from all around the world, billions of people. Theoretically, of course, if you make a post, no one's gonna see it because you fucking suck. But that's besides the point, right? And that's the innovation in our century, right? How we can contact each other worldwide in videos and through posts and whatever other words I say to sound smart. But what I think is just as important is how we're a lot more connected to our small circle and how that makes us act. Because when we look back to the 1990s, an era that I'm not from and I know nothing of, but I will assume, pretend like I do, and we see how small circles played out. There was of course this self-created need to be a little disingenuous in how you acted in order to appease your inner circle more. That was done more when you were physically around them, because you weren't at all times connected. And yes, I'm not an idiot. I know that phones existed back then, but they're typically at home phones you couldn't carry around, which is the opposite of now, of course, because we have smartphones, and more problematically, a modern social media, where you can now be connected to your small circles at all times. So that you don't just act differently around them in the physical realm, but also in the digital realm, which is a majority of the day for some people, and a lot of the day for a good portion of people, right? Just spent entertaining and building an image that people like in social media. We can sort of see this by how people are conscious by what they repost, post, music they say they listen to, music they say they don't listen to, people they say they would bank. I don't know, whatever, everything. They're just so insecure about everything, and I'm not like them, right? Because I'm just a genius. I'm enlightened, right? I know this is true because I was on Instagram, right? And then there was this guy I knew, and he said, "Oh, like it's called inner peace is found once you search inside yourself," or something like that. It was something like that. I mean, I don't want to be rude, but you're not fucking like looking at Hindu scripture. Well, not Hindu scripture. Hindu, like fucking books or whatever. It sounds really racist when I said I would say it correctly. I just didn't put it in the script. So people just sort of act and say whatever they want in order to like appease people. But I mean, that's kind of obvious, right? And this week of creating an image has gone from small circles in the physical world to small circles in the digital world, and in your life in general, because of how easy it is to compare ourselves and to compare others, which means we are demanded to be more and more and appear better and better just to compare with others, which forces the greater need to fake who you are, to become a person capable of someone's attention and praise. Which is why I say we are all jesters, right? Not in typical use of the word, right, where most people are fools or an actual jester, like you know what I mean. But instead of the sense that all people are desperately trying their hardest to have the greatest image that impresses people, in a sense like a jester trying his hardest to please the king no matter what extent it may take, no matter if he loses his sense of identity because of it. If I'm being honest, the title was sort of used because it sounded nice, and I thought you would click on it, which you have if you're watching. I honestly think we're worse than Jesters, if I'm being completely honest, because at least the Jester worked hard so that they could please the king and in fear of death. But most of us are just trying to desperately create a pleasing image so we can reach the supposed success. And I say supposed because most of us don't really know what success means to us. Success is like a thing that we just sort of kind of assume we have if people are talking good about us, and if people talk bad about us, then we don't have success, right? Which is a really nothing meaning, right? Because people's perceptions and how they feel about you are always changing, and are you just can't use it as objective. But that's a nuanced topic, relatively nuanced, and I'll save it for another video because there's this thing called not having that many ideas, and that's kind of what I suffer from. So, and also I want to talk about the other way we could be jesters, although this is more of a conspiracy thought, I guess. Just follow me. Right, did you follow me? You thought I meant follow me, like that's no, just follow me, subscribe to me. I want to be rich, I want to be famous, I want to be like the guy I'm describing, right? Imagine you're the most powerful rich person ever. You can walk everywhere and you'll basically be treated as a god, and in the human sense. I would assume that this would be a good feeling. But after a while of this constant praise and lifestyle, how would you feel? You think you would be content with this forever? Now, I don't really care what you say because I know you wouldn't. Because I know everything that I need. I know everything. So you may have everything, but you wouldn't be content for really long because your source of happiness is reliant on man and woman, pleasing you as much as possible. And I don't mean that in, this typical sense when you say pleasing. I mean that in every sense. If when it comes to friendships, when it comes to how you value yourself, everything is just based on others' perceptions on you. So at a certain point, it would be kind of boring and tiring because there's only so much we can say, only so much praise that we can say before it's just the same, right? So what's next? Suicide? Well, maybe, but if I go with that, I can't really stretch it to the 8 minute mark. So what I feel most would do, if they had a sort of life, is they would do the next step to becoming God. For all intents and purposes, before I continue, when I say God, I don't mean it in the sense that they're truly becoming God. That'd be ludicrous, right? But instead, they're becoming this twisted, made-up version of what a God is, right? Which is just a person with a lot of influence who can do whatever they want. And so, what they would do naturally, I guess naturally is the right word, is that they would try to control people for entertainment and sort of treat them like if you ever played Sims, that's how you would treat real human beings, right? Which brings me to the wayward jesters, or at least 99.9, how many nines you want to put there, percent of us. Because people like the ones I described before are purposefully creating false drama or false whatever in order to stir us up and make us fight and do whatever it may be. Because when you're at the top of the throne, you find new ways to entertain yourself, right? So they're basically just playing Sims, but oh my gosh, I'm sick. But in real life, right? Which is a little, it's not good. Now I know this sounds crazy, or for some it sounds crazy. For some, like, yo, bro, you literally figured me out, bro. This is what I've been thinking my whole life, bro. Like, you literally just read into my mind. You touched my, you went through my nose and reached my mind, bro. You literally reached my mind, bro. And I'm not saying that I fully adopt this to the extent that they're fully controlling everything. I mean, that would be impractical. But if we look at how split, at least the USA is, like 50-50, but it's not actually 50-50, exactly. But it sort of raises the question, because I feel like at least political parties purposefully choose hills to die on, thinking that can cause a big split. Let's say like a Democrat, they're anti-immigration. I mean, they're pro-immigration, but they're like anti, and they're pro-choice. And the Republican is anti immigration. Well, they're anti that. They're anti both. Anti-immigration and anti-pro-choice, right? Because if they chose anti-immigration, or they sort of flipped the issues, wouldn't create a 50-50 if we just think about it. That was pretty stupid to say. I'm probably gonna cut that out, right? And so they just do whatever. They just try to orchestrate it all to make their little gesture constantly entertaining them with our cries and screams or whatever else. I also like say this because Israel, okay? If a lot of people say Israel controls the whole world, and I don't agree with that. That's kind of stupid. But the thing is, like, everything that's supposed to be, oh, no one wants you to talk, like TikTok does not want me to talk about how Israel controls the world or something. And it's like, they just tell you stuff that you can find online. Everything, you can find online. So it's like, they're purposefully giving you some things to make you think that you figure something out, when it's all just like hidden behind what they're trying to orchestrate to try to make you hate someone, not hate, just to test you, right? Because I mean, I guess with human behavior is that it's like you could sort of repeat it. You could sort of make someone the same. Like you could get a new baby and you could make him similar to someone else, at least morally, but you'll never make them exact. So I guess it's trying to figure out how much you can control someone, right? So this is where I end the video, because it's 10 minutes long, and that's quite a bit of time. And 10 minutes is too much time, because you're not going to even watch 1 minute of this. And if you do watch all of this, I just want you to give all your money to Israel. Don't give money to Palestine, because I'm actually bought by Israel. So, oh my gosh, I hate this. Also, I want to apologize for my horrible voice in this video. I think I sound better now, but I sounded really bad there, because I was sick. Which, don't cry. Don't cry, I'm better now. It's okay, buddy. Anyways, you're ruining my life!